We're going to jump back into the audible angle quickly now, as we accelerate into a new part of the year, getting into almost ready to totally divest ourselves from the 2025-2026 NFL season. We'll probably get a week or two break here, and we'll have to start talking free agents and everything else. And by a break, I probably mean by Thursday, we'll have to cover something, as we always like to say, the NFL dominates everything news-wise, but we will get into college basketball tonight. I heard rumblings from multiple channels of some questionable refereeing, possibly involving the Badgers, favorite of some listeners and some hosts. I'm going to adjust my camera here as if anybody actually watches. Irby, you threw me for a loop a little bit. I was actually searching, like right when you text, I had up on my computer, how do you actually do a live stream just straight via YouTube? You know, I know I could do it myself. How could I get you involved? And then you sent me a text that said, yeah, I'm out for today. We weren't necessarily going to do a live stream, but kind of a live lead up, finish golf into the Super Bowl. Little change of plans there. Did the festivities take it up a notch, take you out of the office chair?
Kind of. Just pregame of the pregame. How about I put it that way? We were out and about, kind of needed to get some things prepared. Decided last minute audible, very fitting for our show, that we were going to do the steak fajitas for the dinner for the pre-game Super Bowl. So we wanted to go do that, grab some coffee, get some running around done. And I knew that lunch had to fit in there. And I wasn't going to be near the studio in time to be back for the fajitas, so that I would be in time to be in the recliner for the game.
Now, let me ask you, were the fajitas, were you making them, or were you picking them up from your fajita spot?
Good question. These were courtesy of your only Deb Urban. She's the artiste of this, so we decided to go from, it's typically chicken fajitas are the choice, and I kind of threw it out there. Should we try some steak fajitas? And we get coffee right across from the local, one of our sponsors actually, Pelkins Meats.
Yeah.
Got locations here in Swamico and Crivets. So if you find yourself up north, Pelkins originated up in Crivets, Wisconsin, but we were right across the street, so we grabbed our coffee. I had my iced latte. Deb's got her natural drip, and wandered over there, grabbed some steak, and getting ready for it to chop up. Good stuff, fresh stuff. Good stuff at Pelicans.
And that led us right into an exciting start to the Super Bowl with some first quarter action that, you know, you couldn't even peel yourself away to go to the bathroom. How did you feel starting off at the game? Did you feel like we got it all wrong and we had a couple of excellent quarterbacks? MVP candidate Drake May leading the team up and down the field. Actually, funny enough here, I didn't change my screen, and I haven't hit refresh on it from when I was sitting here on this computer, and so it's still at the fourth quarter, 12-0, with 15 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I'm going to refresh now, so I have up-to-date stats, but what'd you see, Herbs?
Fairly up to the billing, right? I mean, it was obviously, I was talking to people at the office today, was, in their view, it was a refreshing defensive battle. There's a sentiment out there and a small contingency. I am not included in that contingency, who enjoyed defensive games. It's not my typical love fest. I'd rather see the greatest show on turf from the Warner and the Rams days, but it was, I mean, we knew the Seahawks had a tough defense. There were some questions that were raised about some people that were wearing Patriots jerseys, mainly Mr. May, and that kind of came to fruition. At the end of the third quarter, as you say, Dilly, Myers was the MVP of that football game.
I was rooting after that turnover. I was rooting for another field goal. Just go 15 zip, because at that point, 15, it's still two scores. They might have had to still try to play a little defense, but I mean, it was at 15-0, it was going to be close to essentially kneel down territory for the Seahawks and just grind the entire thing to a halt. The Patriots did on the strength of two Mac Hollins muscle plays, just kind of willed their way back into the game for a moment. I will say it was a good, you like to see, I don't mind seeing good defense, but I'm not sure it was all good defense. Even Darnold, who most people say, it was a good story for him to get the win, but I mean, he was thrown into coverage. Balls were getting knocked around early. It looked a little shaky early. One thing I noticed in the broadcast I brought up too, the game went nearly forever without a penalty call. And to me, that is, if you imagine that the game is kind of tilted towards the offense, help the offense a little bit, does no penalties, did that help the defenders, kind of stay sticky on some of those pass plays? You'd think maybe if they're not calling anything, does that help the defensive line? It doesn't. That should help the linemen, but maybe they didn't know that we weren't calling holding in the first half. What did you make anything out of the apparent decision by the NFL to abscond from refereeing the game a little bit?
Yeah, it's an interesting take, Dilly. I've got a little bit different take on that. I think in the first half, possibly, actually, quite frankly, it was through the first three quarters, the Patriots didn't throw the ball downfield. I think in the third quarter, I glanced up and Drake May's numbers were 13 of 26. And I'd be hard-pressed to say that of those 13 completions, anywhere, I mean, it could have been 10, 9 that were 1 yard dump downs to the running back. That was the only success. He just didn't throw the ball down the field. So that really took the entire secondary in what arguably is one of the biggest question marks I have in officiating this year in the NFL is what is a pass interference, what isn't a pass interference. The referees didn't have to call it, right? There wasn't much of that. There was a glimpse. I think I texted you in the fourth quarter that I was like, the only way that there's going to be any offense in this game is by the yellow flag. Like that, and Drake May kind of reverted to that chuck it and hope, like chuck and duck kind of offense. And hopefully he gets a play, and he got one call, but then they kind of went away from it. It wasn't to say that they were really running the football because they forgot they had a great two-headed monster. I don't know what their game plan was, but I agree with you. It was a fast game. The officials didn't have to play, which quite is refreshing. That's refreshing for me. I don't want the black and whites to run the game. I just think there wasn't a lot of opportunities to call those plays or those fouls or penalties, Dilly, down the field. I guess that's where it goes. That doesn't mean anything on the offensive line part, but
yeah. And take this again in the perspective of watching football the whole season. There's one play in particular, and it was early. I can't remember if it was Seattle's first or second drive, but they kind of got the ball moving a little bit. And they kind of had the underthrown kind of jump ball, and the New England defender kind of collided a little bit. It wasn't a huge collision, but made contact with the receiver. They didn't throw the flag on that one, which, again, if I'm going to watch football in the year of our Lord 2026 next fall, and they decided to not call that pass interference every single time without fail, use some judgment on a grossly underthrown ball, that'd be great. I don't know if I trust them to stay consistent with that, but how they actually called the game, I liked. It was just, to me, noticeably different than the rest of the year, which just makes it more confusing. I believe we talked about this one, and if I'm going to be honest with the listeners, at 5:32, when I still knew the game wasn't really going to start, and I was texting you and Druzy, let me know if I miss anything. I'm going to go to the bathroom and take a quick rinse in the shower, which I did. And I missed, I think, the kickoff. And I think a first little bit of a big gain. First thing I see when I come back is, and you have to, honestly clarify this for me a little bit, because I was watching on my phone as I headed back downstairs. The Cooper Cup sideline catch, was that a catch, and B, did the guys in New York City reviewing every play, especially in the playoffs, and talking to the refs during the play so they can make up a call on the field after a 12-second lecture from New York, and then they review it and agree with themselves. Where was New York on that sideline catch? Because he was bobbling the ball. Am I incorrect?
No, I think you're right. And I saw the replay, and you were texting, and we were texting back and forth. And I'll be honest, in real time, I had no idea. Like it was such a fast play and very intelligent from Sam Darnold in the offense to jump back out there and get a play like immediately, right? Like they didn't take any time. There were some replays, and most definitely that should have been stopped. Like that, the comment from the commentators where as we went to break, because there was a break after the second play, which they were like, well, there was nothing clear and obvious, obviously, because just as a reminder, we need something clear and obvious for instant replay to come into play, or in New York to come into play, which quite frankly, Dilly, was the first time that I've heard it used like that. I had no idea that it had to be clear and obvious, which makes absolutely no sense in the first 18 weeks of the season, because there were numerous calls that made it clear and obvious. Numerous calls in the fact that maybe change some of the Packers games, maybe change some of the Bills' future, maybe change some of the playoffs, that they were clear and obvious, and they didn't break in. Now, real time last night, it went too fast. I think that the Seahawks, it's kind of a moot point. To answer your question, Billy, it certainly should have been replayed. It should have been replayed instantly because there was clear and obvious, but that was a quick play. Darnold and the Seahawks kind of played their best Green Bay Packers in the heyday with Aaron Rodgers and got to this line of scrimmage and just snapped it and chucked it. So that kind of nullified that being a point, but you're right. That should have been looked at and should have been looked at immediately, or at least helped at. And here's the deal. The coach, Vrabel, could have thrown a flag there, maybe a little early in the game to throw the red flag.
Yeah, it was early to throw the red flag. And again, I'm mainly asking more so for consistency. Just go ahead and, if you're going to do that, because I would be, check me in the comments if I'm making this shit up, but I guarantee there was times, even when a team tried to kind of move fast, that the refs kind of go, hey, ho, ho. Or, like we always say, when they just stop and don't make a call they could have just stopped and talked for 15 seconds to give New York time. So when does New York come into play? We're not going to get answers on this possibly ever, but if New York steps in and is talking to the refs right away, so then they're not making a call, they're not spotting the ball, that takes away the opportunity to run up there and say, let's go, boys. And it's just when does that apply? When doesn't that? Just make it uniform, please, heading into next year. That'd be great. We talked a lot about quarterbacks before this matchup, and I think we alluded to it a little bit. I don't think anybody really bathed in extreme glory from the quarterback position. If you look at Drake May's statistics at the end of the game, if you look at just the normal stats that people look at, like, I feel like Patriots fans are going to have some room to talk themselves into, hey, I'm threw for almost 300 yards, ended up with 295 yards, threw a couple touchdowns. Yeah, threw some picks, but that was just kind of desperation time. I assume you're not taking that angle. He was missing open receivers, either missing them with the throw or just not getting throw off. And I don't think it was all pass rush. There was a little bit of not seeing the open receiver and pulling the trigger. I'm going to pretend I haven't heard you talk about Drake May before. What did you see from Drake May, and what do you think of Drake May this game?
Yeah, I appreciate you acting like you don't know the answer here, Dilly, but it was a tough watch, and I'll tell you, I believe it was halfway through the third quarter. It was definitely after his first 3 and out when they got the ball first after the second half, or after the half. I believe halfway through the third quarter, he was 13 of 26. And that was for like 135 yards, which frankly, it was very even with Sam Darnold. That might have been the halftime stats that I remember, but it definitely was very similar in yardages, attempts, but 13 for 26. Sam Darnold had more attempts than what Drake May is. And here's the deal. Did not surprise me, and I reveled in it. I enjoyed that entire first 3 quarters where he was exactly what I thought he was, and that is junk. I'm not sure the love affair that Chris Collinsworth has on Drake May, because he's telling me even after the game, don't worry, he's going to be a superstar in this league. He's going to be great. The Patriots are here to stay. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure, Chris Collinsworth, and we know in Packer country that this dude falls in love with some teams, not Green Bay Packers, because he is not a Green Bay Packer fan. He is an Aaron Rodgers fan. He is not a Green Bay Packer fan. My point of this is everybody in Patriots country is going to come at me and tell me he had a great game. It was 295. The offensive line is the reason that he couldn't hold up. Here's the deal. All season long, that offensive line stunk, especially on the left side of that line. That absolutely stunk. And were they bad? Yes, they were. But here's the deal. Half of that was coming from pressures. And the 5 guys up front aren't who covered those pressures. It's got to be Drake May making a decision. And Chris Collinsworth was the first one to say in the third quarter when he dumped it off and he's right on it. See, he sees this now. He's understanding the game. There's 7 minutes left in the third quarter, and he dumps it off for a gain of 20 to his running back, who is, by the way, open the entire game. He decided not to use it. He tried to push it down the field. He was trying to fit it in to tight windows all day long. So was Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was successful with it. Drake May threw the ball where there people weren't. I do believe that one of the commentators said going into break one time that Drake May was the one seeing shadows and seeing ghosts, and that's a fact. That was a bad game by Drake May, and I think he showed his true colors in that game, Dilly. He could not read a complex defense that was not what he prepared for. I think that the Seahawks came and gave him different looks that he wasn't prepared for, brought different pressures, the same pressure, by the way, but different pressures that he was ready and prepared for, but it was the same pressure 10 times in a row with that line, that cornerback coming in through the hole on the right side of the line, and getting to him. But here's the deal. Half of his sacks were his own fault. Throw the ball. You're holding it too long. You're waiting for that to come open, and it's not going to. Maybe some of that is on Mike Vrabel and the offensive play caller. But boy, oh boy, Drake May was not good, but he wasn't good all season. He was okay. He was serviceable against lesser opponents. That's not what the Seahawks are. They're the top end of the defense, the best defense arguably in the league. Sorry, Bronco fan. That defense was top to bottom better than the Broncos. And here's the deal. The right team won, and Drake May is not, at this point, ready for the lights that were as bright as they were Sunday night.
Yeah, that was a long one, Herbs. I like it. The one thing I would say, not today. I don't think today many Patriot fans are going to try to convince themselves that Drake May, was okay to even fairly, optimistic. They're not even optimistic yet. That'll be heading into next year. But I think that what Drake May, and again, remember all year we're trying to compare him. We're commentating versus the idea that he maybe got snubbed for the MVP and maybe was MVP worthy. That was offbeat all year. I think what we saw, and he only gets one of these. I know Irby doesn't like the young guy, the youngest team, the young guy learning. He's played whatever it is, 30-some games now at this point. And in his second year, he burned up his inexperience card. He can't go back to that because I think when the game wasn't going for him, he didn't find the right decision between running and chucking it downfield. On the one interception, he could have ran, and even when he was running, he hasn't learned yet, or maybe just in this game was, like you said, maybe a little too big for him. He was still, doing the slide that seemed a couple yards shorter than it maybe could have been, considering it's the Super Bowl. And, you didn't see that Josh Allen kind of reckless abandon where he's like, I'll run this stupid thing 6 pass plays in a row if you want me to, and I will dive head first because it's the Super Bowl or it's the playoffs. And he didn't find that. I think he was still trying to be a regular quarterback, and maybe that'll be a thing that comes up because you see this with some quarterbacks, flashes of greatness. we've seen some quarterbacks in the NFC North this year that the variance between brilliant and complete nonsense is quite a stark contrast. And we'll see if Drake May figures it out a little bit more as we move forward. I think it was a yeoman's effort by Sam Darnold. He was flirting with it. I kind of liked that they were. He didn't seem encumbered by worry about making the big mistake, and it worked out to their benefit that the Patriots didn't capitalize on any of that early. But he didn't have the Sam Darnold nightmares of old, and he had a good team and a guy we've talked about a bit on the program, and some of it is fantasy football related. Our feelings about Kenneth Walker and the usage by the Seahawks. I heard not a lot. Some people suggest that losing Charbonnet was going to be good for the Seahawks offense because they'd stop messing around with all that. And Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, and just that commitment to the run game is something, and maybe it's coaching, maybe it's success, kind of dictates what you're going to do. But Sam Darnold had the benefit of Kenneth Walker in a determined run game that really supported him throughout.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, okay, so there's an argument there. I like that you're kind of hinting at it. So Sam Darnold, did he benefit from a strong running game? Yes, but the game plan was better. So part of the May issues that I have is they also had a running game. Their game plan didn't allow him to do that, or they didn't quite, or maybe Drake May's play didn't allow him to get to the running game, right? And Sam Darnold in that first series, if you remember, Dilly, he threw it in some tight windows. That first play to the tight end, I thought that was a pick six. Somehow it got through there that the corners were jumping all the routes in the first series, the second series. They were jumping the routes, and Sam Darnold stood strong, and he completed passes. But the difference between the Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold and the Patriots and Drake, who cares, May, was that they threw the ball down the field. The Seahawks threw it down the field. Drake May did not. He didn't have the nuts, the stones, and maybe that's experience-based. Who knows? I don't know, but Sam Darnold played better. You're right. His running back was the guy. He was the MVP for a reason, and it was patient running. It was running I hadn't seen from Kenneth Walker all season, probably because we didn't see him play a full game like he did last night. But I will tell you that Sam Darnold stood tall and made the throws he needed to. Drake May did not, period. That's inarguable. Sam Darnold made the throws, and Drake May threw it 7 yards beyond short or to the right or left of his receivers. And they were open ones. When he had time to throw, he didn't make the play. Sam Darnold did. Love the story. Glad Sam Darnold got his day, his night, his season. That's probably, I believe, 35 wins, 33 wins in 2 seasons? Guy wins, period.
Yeah, and if you're thinking back to the game, I was going to say this earlier, it almost was a game where, and I was joking about it with the fam, I almost wish it went back in the olden times where I would have been doing, gone to a tavern to warm up and had some people over and had 13, 14 beers in me, because you could have gone, certainly through the third quarter, you could have gone, man, I'm drinking too much. What the hell's even going on? I'm playing darts, watching the game, doing weird stuff. What I missed absolutely nothing. But if you're feeling like we're making stuff up a little bit, we are still focusing on the consequential part of the game, because certainly Drake May started chucking it deep late when he shouldn't have been. Or wasn't going to be there, and that's all they had left was for him to chuck it deep. That's when he started chucking it deep. I think part of it was he wasn't finding the right read or finding the open receiver. Enough about Drake May. Enough about 25, 26. It's all old news. Who gives a rip? Congrats to the Seahawks. Are the Seahawks automatically your favorite in the NFC in 2026, fall of 2026?
I don't think they're automatically that because I think there are still going to be, unfortunately, there's still going to be questions about Sam Darnold. I think that defense is there to stay. I think their defense is young. Listening to some of the interviews afterwards, I believe that the Seahawks are built like their coaches. They're just a bunch of nerds that are stuck in a playbook that'll work hard, get the things done right, and do the right things at the right times. Great athletes, don't get me wrong, but I think they're football nerds. Kind of like, I mean, their coach started as an intern. He worked his way up. There's no lineage there. The reason that he has the first job, his last name isn't Kubiak. His last name isn't, some of the greats. He doesn't come from the McVay tree. Like, there's just the guy, the coach, and the players. I think they are to stay. Are they the favorites going into next year? Kind of by default. But in the NFC, quite frankly, there's two teams that are going to be just as good or better. I'll throw three because everybody in Packer Nation wants to hear their names. But the Rams and the Eagles are contenders because of their personnel, right? We don't know what Stafford's going to do next year, but right now he's on the team and he makes them a credit to that, winning that. The Eagles have all the tools. Saquon Barkley's back. They've got two great wide receivers. They've got a quarterback. They've got a serviceable defense. If they can figure out the offensive line, the Eagles are going to be in the conversation. I'm not forgetting about the Packers. I think they're legitimate. I think they would have been legitimate today, as the worst part of the Super Bowl was looking at our roster and how we were capable of playing, and we weren't there. Like, we were not playing. We were basically out of the question after the first. We were out of the question after the first week, but before that, I don't know if we ever were thinking Super Bowl. Through week 10, we were thinking Super Bowl. But I think the Packers have a legitimate chance. Everybody's back. I mean, everybody is of consequences back. We have some more. We make some improvements through the draft. Maybe a free agent here or there. People get healthy. I know that it's going to take us a month to get Parsons back. He's not the say-all, end-all. To answer your question, bottom line, yes, they're the default favorites, but I believe the Rams, the Packers, and the Eagles in the NFC will be in the top question as well, and they will be plus numbers.
Yeah, I would say, and this is way early to break down the upcoming NFL season, but what the hell? We're going to be, like I said, we're going to take 45 minutes off from talking to NFL, and we'll probably be right back in it. All these teams have, new league year deadline decisions. The Seahawks do have some interesting things coming down the pipe. The aforementioned MVP Kenneth Walker is a free agent, and that is a position where, they can't fly around with a team-friendly deal. He's got to get. That's what a 28, 29-year-old running back does, is maybe stick with the team he likes on a team-friendly deal. He's got to get the most money he can, most likely on this deal. And they have and I don't know the exact specifics. I have it up here, but I'm not going to read it all off. But I know that when the Seahawks got Sam Darnold, signed Sam Darnold, it was kind of one of those deals of give him a bunch of money, but kind of have a way out after a year. And it was a 2-year deal. So they're going to already be facing a situation where are they 100% locked in on Darnold and giving him a 4 or 5 year deal? And how does that change everything for them? They got a couple, defenders on the pending free agents too. So it's not all, it's not all hands on deck or a young team, everybody under contract for the Seahawks. Rams come down to, is Stafford coming back? I think he is. And, are they going to have to? Devontae had a good year doing what they asked him to do, but he's getting older. He's not a take over a game by himself kind of guy. He's do a secondary role great. Do they have everything they need to come back? We'll see. Eagles, new offensive coordinator coming in, changes, coaching staff, uncertainty with A.J. Brown. There's a lot of questions there. Of course, you mentioned the Packers. I'm fairly certain we'll be talking about them this offseason quite a bit. There's some questions there. I mean, it's not quite everybody back. We have some questions. Is Rashawn Gary a cut? Everybody seems to say yes, but that's different than how I mentioned Kenneth Walker. I don't know if Rashawn Gary can necessarily say, pay me my huge cap number or cut me because I'm going to go make a ton of money somewhere else. he might, with the second half of the year, he might be a prove-it contract kind of guy. And if, there's a possibility, in my eyes, and I'm not an expert, I think most experts think he's automatically gone. I don't know the specifics of it, but a restructure, there's a chance that makes sense for both of them. Obviously, guys coming back from injury. And then, and I don't want to mention them, but we might as well, because we're just mentioning all the NFC playoff teams, because the NFC is far better than the AFC. Really, I think any of those teams would have beat the Patriots. And frankly, the Bears probably would have beat the Patriots. And that makes it everybody except the NFC South representative would have likely won the Super Bowl had they gotten there. But the Bears, are the Bears tickling your fancy at all for next year?
Personnel-wise,
as a Super Bowl team.
A Super Bowl team? No, they're not a Super Bowl team, because here's the deal: everything has to go right for a Super Bowl team to get there, right? Throughout the entire season, you have to stay healthy. You have to make the right decisions. The field goals have to fall. The catches have to be right. You don't have to get, all of these things have to go right. All of those things went right this year. Every single one of them for the Bears, and they still lost in the playoffs. Like, they had to win. I think they used up 3 or 4 years worth of luck in one season to get them back to relevant. And I'm still not sold on that coach. I just am not sold on him being able to not outthink himself, not outplay call himself, not to out-stupid himself. So I would tell you that I'm not sold on the Bears. I don't think they're a contender. I would tell you the 49ers are anybody in that NFC West. The 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks are contenders. I don't think the Arizona Cardinals are going to make, but they do have a little floor at the helm. So they've got a chance, but I don't think the Bears are a Super Bowl contender. Not legitimately, no.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and I would say this to Bears fans with all camaraderie and tact. We say this because we've been there before. And oddly enough, I think we did we go to 3 NFC Championship games in a row, a couple in a row, several. Yes. When you don't take advantage of it, it's not guaranteed to be there. And like I was going to mention that when you're talking about people saying the Patriots are for real and they'll be back, there is absolutely no guarantee for any team in the NFL that you're going to be back the next year. And you're right, the Bears had home games in the playoffs. They had a miracle comeback in the playoffs. They had a great chance to beat the Rams at home, and you can't take the 2 seed for granted. You can't take the division win for granted. You have to. You didn't mention tiebreakers. We were 1 game away from a total tiebreaker nightmare between all the NFC North teams that would have left. I think would have left the Packers out. I don't know if the Bears would have got in. Who gives a shit? Yeah, they're not a lock. I don't even know if there's anyone at this point in the AFC to even talk about. Not to clap ourselves on the back too hard here. At the end of the day, and maybe it's on us a little bit, because we faltered. We tried really hard to talk ourselves into the Patriots. We kept saying, man, the Broncos are fake news, the Patriots are fake news, and I guess they're proving us wrong because they kept advancing, and the Patriots made it. And as it turns out, we were right all along. It's just the AFC stunk, and except for everybody probably wishes the Bills made it, because that would have been entertaining. It's just they were a little flawed, and got hung out to dry a little bit on a catch, no catch, and they didn't make it. Other than that, the AFC was, fake news. The whole AFC was fake news this year. No guarantee that it'll hold up next year, but I think the NFC is pretty well positioned.
Didn't even mention the Lions, Dilly. Didn't even mention the Lions.
Yeah, I was thinking about them in the back of my mind. I don't think the Lions are officially done by any means. I don't think people like to say the window, their window might be closing. I don't know that it's closed. I think their flaws, their team, like you mentioned with the Bears, they had a lot of stuff going for them. All the 4th down aggression worked out in the games they needed to the previous couple of years, and they were on the rise, but they got there, and they lost. on their best season. They lost in the playoffs and kind of thought, here, you take the next year, take the next step. And they were sitting at home, and they have to be wondering. I think there was a backup tackle, that guy that has been there forever. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about? Number 70, I think.
Yeah,
He retired. Well, no, Ragnow retired, but their other guy that did play this year, they had another retirement on the offensive line. Their defensive backs have been a problem. So Detroit has enough because they have a great receiver, a great running back. Aiden Hutchinson got through the year healthy. You know, they got some pieces, but they have to do the retooling part better. Then they have to draft better. They're on a precipice here of, hey guys, maybe this isn't going to work out. Maybe we have to make some big changes. But you're right, they're in the mix. Anybody else? Actually, what I was going to ask is any non-playoff teams that early on you think could take a jump?
I look to be honest. Well, no, the Chargers made the playoffs, so I would say that maybe, I think in the AFC it's the Chargers, the Texans, and the Broncos. But I don't know. I think if any team is going to take a jump, Dilly, it's going to be the Texans if they can figure out their quarterback. If CJ Stroud can actually, that was the biggest miss that they had. But I don't know if there's anybody out there. Maybe the Ravens. I don't know how they've got some pieces there that are decent. They're aged. I think their quarterback has still got some left in the tank. He's probably got 2-3 good years left. He's pretty good. I would say probably if I were to go out there, Texans and the Ravens. I think that they could make a step to be legitimate. But who the hell knew that the Patriots were going to? I mean, maybe the Browns take a push. I don't know. If the Browns can figure out the offense, they've always played good defense. Now they're all shuffled. Who the hell knows who's the quarterback or the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator? I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I'm pretty sure Cleveland doesn't know what's going on in Cleveland, nor have they the last 20 years. But
I guess the obvious ones, I didn't even think of this when I asked, but you're forgetting a fairly obvious one that we shouldn't just bury just yet, but they got to pull some magical moves out of the hat too, is the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Mahomes will be back or be back very early, and you mentioned the Ravens. Those teams, it's a little too early to just say it's over for them. Ravens obviously went with the coaching change, so that'll be a lot of change, but they had a horrible start to the year and came up short, and Lamar Jackson had a weird year. Maybe there's more to his relationship with the offensive coordinator and everybody else. Chiefs have more of a personnel issue. They got to get younger and better and make kind of all the right moves to get back to being power.
I got it. Bengals, yeah. Joe Burrow, Chase, Bengals. They're the team. There's a chance. Stay healthy.
Anymore for 37 years in a row. What's his name? Minter, who is not the Minter who played for the Bears. He's just some guy named Jesse Minter. There's no guarantee these teams get the right coaching call. Mike McCarthy, with the Steelers, that'd be fun and great if they had a quarterback. We don't know that yet. Even if Rodgers comes back, at least you believe with Rodgers on the Steelers, they got a functional quarterback that will know what Mike McCarthy is asking them to do. I mean, that might be best case scenario for him, as much as 90% of the NFL fans are like, this guy doesn't have it anymore. It's fun when he has a good game, but
Cordell Stewart, is he still got eligibility left? Cordell Stewart?
Yeah, he's available. Actually, if we want to get real weird, before we diverge quickly into the refs in a Badger basketball game, Derek Carr is sounding like he's coming back. That's a guy, his last years were kind of marred, but he had the weird injury and retired. And if he's fully healthy and on a decent team, not head coached by Dennis Allen, like he was with the Saints, maybe that's a guy that comes out of nowhere for the Steelers. Kirk O'Chains sounds like he might be cut. And so you never know in the NFL. You might end up with a couple of guys circulating for teams like the Vikings, the Steelers. If Derek Carr goes Steelers, Rodgers to the Vikings. You know, all these things can change the viewpoint pretty quickly.
Yeah, Derek Carr, best eyes in the league. Looking forward to him coming back.
Best looking guy in the league. And man, if we got him on the show, we'd crush it.
Shut her down.
Speaking of which, don't forget to subscribe. Let's get some people on X following us. A little shout out to, I'm not going to say her name, but it's the same gal. I think we got the same gal with the same pictures, 5 different accounts following us now. And I make fun of that. I mean, some people say it's a bot. I think she's just a big fan. But she is liking, she's liking posts and replies and stuff, or the bot. If you want to say it's a bot, I think it's a bunch of gals that look the same and have different Twitter accounts but the same name.
She's a big fan, to me, for sure. She's a big fan.
And all she always says is, you know, like, I'm so bored. I don't know who will somebody DM me. I mean, seems legit, right? Right? We're learning, folks. Get on the old social media push. Herbs, we held you off long enough. So let's get right into the Minnesota Golden Gopher basketball team. They had us fooled again. They fooled us again.
These bums. I'll be honest. I've watched more Golden Gopher basketball this year than anything else, and I thought they had another one in the bag after their last upset. I thought maybe they could win one that they should in the barn. They had it. They were teed up in a 5'10", maybe he's 6'2". Don't care. Point guard, 5th year, just dagger to the heart to Minnesota Golden Gopher fans. They were playing well, Dilly. They had it against one of the worst teams in the Big 10, and they lose a game. It just goes to show you, I guess not everybody at home court advantage matters, especially when you're playing in Minnesota. Lost to the Maryland Terrapins this year, and that's not your dad's Maryland Terrapins, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll just say this. Again, we can cling to the hope that we're just going to shatter some dreams in the Big 10 tournament because, you know, maybe we face off a couple bubble teams and just put them out of their misery and not make it anywhere ourselves. I mean, I don't know if we're locked for the NIT if we keep losing every game in the last 5 minutes. And
don't you have to be 500 to make the NIT? Like 500 or better? I don't know what the rules are anymore, and I don't know if it really matters. But here's the deal: the only chance that the Minnesota Gophers have in the Big 10 tournament of making a splash, Dilly, is if they cut the games to 28 minutes. I mean, if they cut the games 12 minutes. Minnesota's winning every game. They will go right to the NCAA championship. They're the best team in the country for 28 minutes of the game. 100%. No doubt. Nobody can comment negatively. They are.
Yep. 2 14-minute halves. We'd be golden, man. Maybe there'll be some sort of global catastrophe, power shortage. We can't even have the lights on in the arena for more than 28 minutes. Get them in, tip it off. Let's wrap it up, boys. 10-point rule. Gophers are up by 10 again.
Shut her down.
Call the game. Mercy rule. They advance. The Wisconsin Badgers were finishing off our little preordained run of games that was going to kind of help define their season. What happened towards the end of Indiana, Wisconsin at Indiana?
And I tried my best, Dilly. First of all, the Badgers started bad. They battled back. They pushed this game into overtime. Great game by Nolan Winter. Ho-hum games by Blackwell and Boyd. Did what they had to do. Played hard, and they've got a lot of heart. We're never gonna question, obviously, a Greg Gard-led team for heart. They will work. They will play hard. That's a good team, but they did put themselves in a hole. Here's the deal. 15 seconds left, and I will tell you, and I tried not to, Dilly, and I tried to see it without red and white in my eyes. This was a travesty, and I've never seen anything like it. That offensive foul call, there's an argument there, but the kid on Indiana was clearly trying to foul, and the referee bailed him out by calling an offensive foul, which has no reason, and you can't argue this with me. Referees need to know time, situation, and you have to call what you see. I agree. But what you saw was not an offensive foul. That was not an offensive foul. That was a defender that didn't have control of his body. He was making contact. Was there an arm shiver? Sure, because he freaked out because the guy dove in front of him. That's an offense. That is a block 100 times out of 100 situation. Play clock. The shot clock was off, Dilly. They were up by 1. Even the kid in his post game, he was so stupid in his post game. He's like, yeah, I was trying to foul him, and I got away with it. I mean, come on, referees, sort it out. Know the game. Don't be the reason that the Badgers lose. This could be. I'm telling you right now, that game itself could be the reason that the Hoosiers make the NCAA tournament. And quite frankly, if things don't go well for the Badgers, if they don't go 500 in the next 8 games. That could be the reason the Badgers don't make the NCAA tournament, because that stupid call. And here's the deal, Dilly, and I'll give you a second in between my next point here. That wasn't even the worst part of it. That wasn't even the worst call of the game. That was the second worst play of the game. Call. Go ahead.
Take it home for me. Give me the worst one.
The worst one was the last one that was called. You got Blackwell playing great defense, not reaching, going backwards, a way to go away from the contact that the offensive player is trying to make, which is exactly the call that was made right before that obviously the offensive player was making the contact, so you called an offensive foul. This one, you don't call an offensive foul. You call a defensive foul when the offensive player is throwing the ball over his head towards the hoop. That's ridiculous. It's the worst call I have ever seen in the game to decide a game. It was clear, and I don't think that the games in the NCAA basketball can be rigged at this point. Well, they've shown it. Arizona State showed it that they could. The pros show that they could fix games. But this game was taken from the Badgers, and it wasn't taken by the Hoosiers. It was taken by the black and whites. That is not a foul. In that last second, they gave the game to the best player, and I don't care who he is. He doesn't deserve that call. LeBron James doesn't deserve that call. Michael Jordan, the GOAT, does not deserve that call, nor would he want it. Michael Jordan would have looked at that referee and said, nope, I'm not shooting him. I'm not shooting him, because that's stupid. What you just did, referee, is dumb. I'm going to throw the ball off the backboard, and I'm not going to score, because Wisconsin deserves to win that game. It's a joke. It's a travesty, and it could be season defining if the Badgers don't take care of business the rest of the way.
Before we segue into upcoming games for the Badgers and the Big 10, and tonight, 9 p.m., we're getting close now, Arizona and Kansas, big matchup. This is going to be an unexpected sidebar. Calling an audible here. I bring up CBS Sports. They're a supporter of the program. They provide free stats and game breakdowns when we do the podcast. Over on the side, they have something called Sportsline Expert Picks. And I'm going to give you a little chance. I'm going to read a little bit here. The guy's pick was allegedly, I don't know if this was there a couple days ago, before the game or not. Matt Severance sounds, kind of funny. Severance pays. Like he got fired and said that'll be my cool name. And I'm sure he's a great guy. Here's his write-up on the basketball game. Tell me if you're going to take betting advice from this guy. This will be the largest conglomeration of overweight white people in American sports until the Brewers visit the Cubs the first time this MLB season. I mean, what do you have for Matt Severance, who picked the Hoosiers to beat, speaking of fixing games, to beat the Badgers on the money line?
Al, okay, fine. So you went out on a limb and took the home team in the Big 10 basketball game? Boy, that's crazy talk there. I don't like the shot at overweight people. Being an overweight person myself, watch yourself, mister. Look in the mirror, mister. I don't know who this character is. Not sure what he's talking about, overweight people in one. Is he taking shots at Chicago folk too?
Is he watching the audible angle? Is he taking a shot at us?
Jesus criminy, this joker.
I will say, in defense of Matt Severance, I mean, there's no way this is a real person anyway, but in parentheses, he did say, count me among them. So he's a fat guy.
He's one of us.
He's one of us, yeah. He's probably like me. Fat guy that looks at disdain at anybody that's even 10 pounds heavier than him. Like, oh my God, I know I'm fat, but look at this guy. He's 10 pounds heavier than me. What a loser. Herbs, we got Illinois coming off. Well, first of all, we had Michigan State, who was coming off their loss to Michigan, players saying, I feel bad for the Golden Gophers because they're going to get punished now because we're so mad we lost to Michigan. So Izzo kind of, he wasn't quite playing the right keystrokes in the background to get these boys going, but they ended up getting a little back on track against Illinois this week. And Illinois happens to be the Wisconsin Badgers' next opponent. What'd you see in Michigan State, Illinois? Did you get to take that in live or not so much?
I didn't see it live, but it played out. I saw some highlights. It played out probably the way it should have been. Was there some questionable play by one of his guys? Was I noticing like some tripping and maybe some dirty play by a man called Fears? Was there some questionability there? And of course, Izzo just kind of downplays that and calls Fears one of his favorites. And man, that's one of the sides of Izzo that you don't like, not being a Michigan State fan. Because there's no place for that stuff that I saw with him tripping the big guys, and that's dangerous stuff. It should be out. It shouldn't be in the game. I'm all for gamesmanship and tucking here and slapping there and pulling here and pulling there and touching things that you shouldn't be touching. But that's a little out of the realm, Dilly. And I think Michigan State, they're going to be a top. I talked to you about it. They're going to be in the top 3. I called this a couple weeks back, maybe 3-4 weeks back. Izzo's going to have him playing well, and he does. And there they go. They upset Illinois.
Yeah, for some reason, and this was probably a meme, I was probably fooled on the old social medias. I thought Fears did end up getting suspended after this last game, but what I'm finding now is no. That is not, in fact, true. Illinois, Wisconsin. Give it to us.
I think this is going to be a tall order. I still think we talked about it. I said that the Badgers should be able to take one of these, the Indiana or the Illinois game. Obviously, the Illinois at Illinois is going to be the tougher game of those two. Almost came to fruition, should have came to fruition. We talked about that. There was a robbery in Bloomington. I don't know if there's going to be a robbery in Champaign. I think if the Badgers shoot well, they're going to give Illinois some problems because I don't think Illinois does well. One of their weaknesses is they don't guard all the way out to the three-point line. They're long, they're good, they're very foreign, so we can speak English. They're not going to know what we're talking about. They're very, very foreign. Check their cards. With that being said, Dilly, I think this is probably an Illinois game. Unfortunately, we're going to have to get – I think we probably drop 3 in a row here, which is what I was talking about. We really needed that Indiana game. I still do like the Badgers' chances at home against Michigan State and the Spartans. I think they're getting a little fat and sassy over there, not taking Severance's words there, but I think they're getting a little fat and sassy over in Ann Arbor. Nope, that's not Ann Arbor. Wherever the hell they play in Michigan.
Lansing?
Michigan State, Lansing. So I think the Badgers it'll be a good game. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, grab it on Big 10 Network, I think it is. And then Friday night will be a fun game because I think that's the Friday night Fox game, the Michigan State, Wisconsin possibly. And we got to win the next 2, Dilly. Actually, we probably have to win the next 4. We're going to have to steal another one against Ohio State. Iowa's going to be a tough out. I think that's at home, though. So I think we're in good shape. And then we go out on the West Coast. And I think I talked about it. I think we win those 2 games. But dropping 2 isn't the end of the world here, but that just makes the next 4 that much more important.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring you through the rest of the schedule. We have been going through that. So it just, with that loss to Indiana, it puts them in the position where Ohio State, Iowa, Oregon, Washington, Maryland, a lot less room for error in those. Maybe you drop one of those, and you're starting to look at, Big 10 tournament gets a little tough. You want to see a couple wins there to lock things in. Irby, a team that you liked this year in the big picture, well, maybe not. Was Houston your team that you brought up last week?
Yes, sir.
Houston Cougars. I have a question about Houston. Does beating UCF and BYU, does that warrant jumping up 5 spots to wherever they're at, top 3 in the country now? Let me check quick. Yeah, up to the 3 spot.
Yeah, they were a big mover. They jumped 5 spots. I think that win the UCF is probably an NCAA team. I think they have a little more work to do. If you look at the prognosticators with ESPN, UCF should be in, right? They may have a little bit of more work. They're going to have to win a couple of games in the Big 12, but that's a good team. I think it's more about the win and the handily win against BYU. BYU's a good team, Dilly. Wouldn't be surprised at all if BYU ends up in the Sweet 16, Grade 8, Final Four. Even they have one of the best top 3 players in the country. That freshman Diabasi, he is a bona fide lottery pick. He's going to be coming out after this year. Houston's the real deal, man. They've won a lot of games. They've played a lot of competition. That's the real deal team, and I think they do deserve the number 3. We talked about it. Drew talked about it. That's my favorite to win the national title, and I think it does show there. Hey, I'll be honest, Dilly, is that a big jump to just beat BYU to go up 5? I think it was more about what the teams did in front of them. Duke losing to North Carolina, some of those teams losing, and then them
UConn lost.
Dropping.
Yeah, UConn lost. Yeah. Herbs, we're going to do 2 more things here, and they're going to be probably quick ones. What are you seeing tonight? We mentioned it a little earlier. Arizona, Kansas. Are you locking in a little late night, quarter cup of coffee? Make sure you stay up for that one.
Yeah, I'm locking in that game. I think that's a must watch. That's 25 minutes or 50. Yeah, 25 minutes from right now that tips off, Dilly. I'm looking forward. Actually, it might be tipped off right now. It might be 34 minutes in. That game might be playing. I am playing. I've got Kansas. I've got Kansas at least winning one of the next 2, and I think they play very close. Maybe a couple games in between, like maybe 2 out of the next 4 with Arizona. I don't think Arizona gets out of this stretch either way. The next 6 games, they do not come out of this unscathed. They will not be the undefeated team. I believe the last undefeated team was going to be the Miami of Ohio, the Redhawks down there. I think they are going to be undefeated at the end of the season, at least going into the conference tournament. I will tell you, Kansas is playing well. They're going to give Arizona a game tonight, and I will call it. There's going to be an upset here. There's going to be some storming of the court there.
We did do a little mix-up on the time zone. It is about halfway through the first half. Arizona 25, Kansas 22. So we're going to be able to ease right into the rest of this game. Last thing on the agenda. At what point do you start dialing into the Daytona 500? Do you watch the duels coming up in a couple days here? I think Thursday night. The 150-mile qualifying races to get a feel for if Ryan Priest is going to be a good pusher. Is Recky Stenhouse, is he a good pusher this year?
Who drives the guy who? So all right, full disclosure, I was a big NASCAR fan back when Jeff Gordon, Stewart, those guys were raced, and I would go to NASCAR parties. Like I would literally go and watch a 5-hour race, 4-hour race, drink a lot of beer, watch it, and just pick numbers, hope my numbers hit. I was a big Jeff Gordon fan. Number 24 is the driver for number 2, Byron. Lord Byron, is he still
Lord Byron? Yeah,
on a cup race? Didn't he just win a cup championship like maybe 2 years ago, maybe last year? I am a big fan of number 24 yet. So to be honest, I'll tune in. I'll watch a little 24. I'll watch them take lefts. I like it. Just don't take a right, baby.
Yeah, I mean Daytona's kind of it's a fun one for casual viewers because they run in a pack. You can't really make real good guesses at who's going to win because the big one happens, guys get wiped out. I like watching it. I do like to watch the duels to get a little feel for it. It'll be an interesting year. We might bring it up once in a while. I'll be honest. I record and I now switch to YouTube TV. I don't know how this is all going to work. Some of the recordings I do get messed up, but I do happen to watch a lot of the races after the fact, maybe Monday morning when I start working. Nice little background. You can blink in NASCAR, and if there's a big crash or something, you can skip back and watch it. But it's a sport I do follow. Oddly enough, you don't get a lot of spoilers in text messages from your buddies or ESPN alerts very much. I don't have ESPN alerts on my phone, of course not. They stink. But Yeah, it's one you can follow at a little bit of a distance, and I'm looking forward to it. And I would have been remiss if we didn't mention it.
Can we talk about one thing? I mean, did
Yeah, sure.
Matsuyama just drop his shorts in that playoff last night? I mean, what's going on? What is going on? And good for Goddard. I mean, that guy's everybody likes him because he's you and I just hitting bombs, dropping that hammer. I mean, that guy, good for him. Like it. Waste management, all timer, bucket list tournament. Got to get there.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good tournament. Boy, it's tough this time of year because waste management. We watch the earlier tournaments. You can kind of watch them, but waste management kind of kicks it off, and then you got a couple weeks to the Players Championship, and then all of a sudden you're talking Masters. But it really starts to get the golf itch going. I can hardly talk. I'm so excited. Hideki, if we're all telling the truth, he was getting away with a lot of errant drives. He was getting away with it, but that's kind of the part of the glory of Hideki is that, he was taking the reins as one of us. He's hitting it out of the dirt, and he's crossing into the cacti and banging stuff out of the rocks. He just was able to keep it together, and even on that playoff hole, it bounced. He heavy pulled it. He was pulling it a lot. Pulled it over the water, stuff that you would not really think is in play. It crossed the water, landed above the red line, so he got distance out of it. It hit one of the stakes that was holding the ropes to keep the patrons in line, hit one of those and bounced back into the water. So he's over there like kind of up against the building. He actually dropped it very close to the water, so he had a little bit better angle. Like took his 2 club lengths and dropped it like all the way towards the hazard, which is a little unusual to see. And he dropped that thing 25 feet away. Like he had a putt for par. Like it was an amazing shot that he was even still. The announcers even were like, well, that's it. He lost. And then because they didn't know right away where the ball landed if it crossed the red line. In any case, he got that shot off, and all of a sudden it kind of turned into he's got a chance here. But Goddard just said, let's not make it weird. Hideki got a weird bounce off the stake. It's awkward. Why don't I just sink this? He putt first. So he was, maybe 28 feet. Somebody, correct us in the comments if it was actually 21 feet and Hideki was 19 feet, whatever. Long putts, nowhere near the gimme zone. And he just sunk in and said, let's get out of here. And I think Hideki was grateful that he didn't have to, he knew he was spraying around. Of course, he wasn't grateful. He would have loved to sink that and get another shot at it, but he was getting away with it all day. It was a hell of a tournament. Some guys, you don't think of it, but like Knapp was up there. There are some guys that they're at 15, 16 under. Obviously, Scheffler's charging. He needed one more to fall, and he would have been in the playoff. But the guys falter. And you see these guys cruising, and everybody, the second 9 was easier scoring throughout the week, and I think normally is there. There's some gettable holes on the back. So you see all these guys are at 14, 15 under, and you just think, well, shit. Because you're watching it thinking Scheffler's already going through all that. He's now in second place. But these guys all get the back 9 to play. They're all going to fire it up. And most of that, quite a number of guys, they start to falter a little bit. So that was more golf than we expected, but can't wait. Keep this thing cooking a little bit, and then we'll get out there soon enough.
Yeah, baby. Got her up. What a great guy. What a great guy for the winner of the Waste Management. He's a man's man, just a dude. I know he's a good golfer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to lessen it, but Got her up's a great champ. I'm sure Waste Management's happy. It's a good champ.
Yep. Update for the listeners. Pretty good session. Getting pretty loose on the old simulator. Just for the show, I did mention I was going Saturday, and that exact thing I said happened. I kind of got fired up, started swinging pretty freely. Guys that don't know me, I don't know that I have any more power, but I used to transfer at least 40% of my power down into the earth with the driver, and I've really flattened out the swing, and it's even getting more. I'm getting more into it, so I can drive it as far as it would look like a big burly man should, at least. Like, I'm in the ballpark now of like, oh, that's a burly guy. He'll probably pound it out there. I'm not consistently a 210-yard driver guy anymore, so that's exciting for me. The other part of the prediction that came true was, yeah, I think I said it would be 8:30. It might have been 8 when it was like, yeah, this is fun. It's been great. We'll have one more beer. Yeah, let's call her good. Head her home. Home by 8:15. It was a late night.
Mississippi Mud? Did you finish her up at Mississippi Mud? Maybe jerseys?
Actually, oddly enough, went from X Golf and went straight home. Yeah, straight home.
All right.
Hey, brother. See you soon. We'll get back on again here and probably have to talk NFL again. Go Kansas.